Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another breakdown and predictions video. And this week we got UFC Mexico. It's going to be another Mexico card headlined by Brandon Moreno, taking on Loner Kavanagh in this one, who's coming in on short notice, which is a pretty interesting switch up because Moreno was getting ready to fight a straight wrestler. And his last fight versus Tatsuro Taira, he fought another guy who was very wrestling grappling centric. So, major curveball for Brandon Moreno, now getting a kickboxer, someone that's a much more striking oriented fighter with really elite striking for the weight division, a young guy that's going to be hungry as well. So I like the matchup. I know some people were kind of questioning it, and at first I was a little bit too. I was like thinking it was a weird matchup, but ultimately I think that it's a pretty good fight, and we're coming off another really good week last week with the Sean Strickland versus Fluffy Hernandez card. We went 11 out of 14 on predictions. We got the underdog of the week right with Jordan Levitt, where that fight went pretty similar to how I expected, where Levitt was able to come out hard early, got the takedowns, he controlled, and in the third round, he arguably lost that round. I don't know if he slowed down as much as he did at 155, but I thought he was going to come out really hot, and if he would lose, he was going to get tired and something wonky was going to happen. But ultimately, he was able to get the win like I expected. And then we had the parlay of the week correct as well with Jocelyn Edwards and Carly Judas. The most confident pick was correct. The main event, once again, was correct. We've gotten all the main events right so far this year with Sean Strickland getting the upset win over Fluffy Hernandez. So hopefully we can bring that momentum into this week once again. So last week, guys, we got really close to 1,000 views. It would be awesome if we can get more likes, comments down below, and hit that 1,000 views, man. That would be really cool. Got super close last week, so want to get past that barrier for this week if possible. So, yeah, man, hit the like button, share the video, put a comment down below, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and let's keep the good predictions going. And let's go with the first fight of the night here with Wes Schultz taking on Damian Pinos. And kicking off the card in the middleweight division is Damian Pinos and Wes Schultz, and this is a very interesting fight. I think it's a good matchup because both these guys are pretty similar in terms of pro experience and also in terms of size, but they couldn't be more different in terms of how they get the job done in the cage. So it's a fun matchup with Damien. We got someone that's from Suriname, the same country as Jairzinho Rosenstruck, but he, I believe, lives in Aruba, and then he'll go to train in Brazil at Novo União. And for this one, I'm not sure exactly. It seems like he's stayed in Aruba and trained there for this fight camp. So I don't know if he's going to have the Nova coaches in his corner, who I believe are probably a little bit more experienced at this level, or it's going to be the Aruba gym, but hopefully he has Andre Perez or someone like that in his corner. And he's 8-1. He got that win on the Contender Series, another quick knockout win, which is kind of been how he's gotten the job done so far in his career. And for Wes Schultz, even though he doesn't have, or excuse me, even though it's similar pro experience, 8-2 to 8-1, Wes Schultz has a pretty good advantage in the experience column because he fought a pretty good amount of times as an amateur. He did well as an amateur as well. And he's 6 years older. He's been fighting since 2019, whereas Damien had his first fight in 2022. He didn't have any amateur fights. So Wes Schultz has more experience. And then Novo União is a better gym, you could argue, for sure, than Pure Vida, but Pure Vida, they actually have a pretty good track record in terms of producing UFC fighters. Like they've got in Montel Jackson, Zach Otto, Nick Klein, Jamie Simmons, a couple other guys to the UFC, but none of them have have that elite success. I guess Montel Jackson has been the best, but yeah, Wes Schultz is coming in with a good pedigree from his gym, and then he has a pretty solid career in terms of he's fought a significant amount of times for LFA. He went 4-1 in the LFA. He fought twice on Contender Series. He went 1-1 in Contender Series. So he's had more seasoning, I would argue, than Damian. But Damian's a freak of nature. He's a little bit still developing on the feet and on the ground for sure, but serious power. He tends to come forward, high guard, kind of plotting. He could struggle when fighters, put the volume on him and get aggressive. He'll shell up and try to find a counter, which has worked. But if fighters are a little bit more savvy, they aren't there to get hit, they can maybe outpoint Damian, even though I think that'd be probably the hardest strategy to go with. Because Damian could generate power from all areas. I've seen him knock guys out with short uppercuts, whether in on takedowns against the cage. Um, he's definitely has power at range with the straight punches. So I think you have to be aggressive and mix it up against him to have the most success. His last fight, he fought a guy who threw a lot of feints, fakes, was really twitchy, fast, but that's not the way to beat him. Damian doesn't react to feints much at all. He's ready for you to commit so he can counter, and he believes in his high guard. You have to let go and be aggressive, mix it up, like I said, and just try to overwhelm him because if you just play that shot for shot game, he only needs one punch to get you out of there. And right now, his main deficiency is his wrestling. He's been taken down in multiple fights. He has an ability to just get up sometimes. He's really physical, but against better opposition, he needs to sure it up in that area. And he did throw an up kick to a grounded opponent in his one loss. So the one fight that he did lose, it was because of inexperience on the ground. And in his hardest fight to date, he strangely enough turned the tables and he was wrestling because he was getting hit with some 1-2 jab uppercuts, and he was not as fast as his opponent early, so he just took him down. And it wasn't working early. He got reversed and lost the first round, but in round two, his opponent got tired and he did, get put in a deep Kimura front choke in the first round, which he escaped. And it seemed like it really slowed him down. And then Damian was able to finish a really gas guy and get the win. So he showed good composure in that one, but I don't know exactly how good his cardio is because that guy kind of just gave up. But I don't think he has horrible grappling. He's strong. He looks explosive. He will threaten subs. He's confident, but I think he's probably like a blue belt, and he just has bad wrestling. And for Wes Schultz, he's tall, long, and lanky. He isn't quite as long as Damian is, but it's pretty similar. He's actually a 1 inch taller, only 1.5 inch reach disadvantage, 77 and a half for Wes Schultz, 79 for Damian. And on the feet, Schultz is awkward. He'll throw a lot of wild kicks. He's mobile, uses a lot of in and out movement, wild head movement. His last fight, I thought he looked a lot better, though. He let his hands go more aggressively. He landed some nice straights, knocked his opponent down less than a minute into the fight. And believing in his hands to set the takedown is the approach here. He has a great chin, which will be huge for him in this fight, but I don't know anyone who could take many clean shots from Damian Quiñonez. He did eat some head kicks, some big punches, a ton of elbows from full mount from Mansour Abdul Malik before being stopped, and even then he was not out cold. But Mansour is going longer with a lot of guys now at this point, and Damian has shown, I think, more power. But Wes Schultz is a dog, and if you could just make it a dog fight on the feet, really sloppy, avoid eating that hammer, he may be able to scramble into a dominant position and finish the fight. He is a strong wrestler. He has fast level changes. He's good at getting the back. He can get it from standing. He's funky in the scrambles, and he can get you down through the clinch pretty well. He'll even pull you on top of him and work his full guard, but I kind of think that should be the last resort here. And early on, he needs to be aggressive with the straights, shoot in, get the takedown, or try to bait Damian and then shoot in on him. But if he has to pull guard, then he should. But I think that, that should definitely be worst case scenario. You showed his last fight how dynamic he is with the submission game when he hit that Suluev stretch. So if he can get on top early and just go hard for the finish, I think he could potentially get it. Conditioning for Wes Schultz is where maybe he could face problems. He has to fight at a crazy pace to keep away from the danger of Damian Pinos, and he can't get sloppy and tired after the first round. But I think this is a pretty competitive fight. It's going to come down to who gets their game implemented quicker. If Schultz gets on top and goes to work, I think a stoppage is possible. He stopped so many guys early. He has more first round finishes than Damian has total fights. And Damian just needs one, though. And if he could survive some bad positions, maybe he could finish a gas Schultz. I'm more like the under, but I'm going to say Wes Schultz gets this first round submission win because I think Damian, he has the youth edge. The size is pretty equal, but Wes has experience. He's proven his durability where Damian really hasn't. And the wrestling, the grappling is on his side. I think if he can get it to the ground early, he could get the finish. So I'm going to go with Wes Schultz via first round submission. And the next fight we got on the card, Erik Silva coming back from the dead. I don't know. I didn't know that he was still in the UFC. But taking on Francis Marshall, he's a solid prospect. And this card's a real weird card, man. I mean, a lot of fighters that you wouldn't expect to still be in the organization are fighting on this one. Maybe they're trying to, finish out some guys' contracts or something. But Erik Silva, back-to-back losses, hasn't fought since February of 2024. And he had the knee injury that forced the stoppage versus Naimov in 44 seconds. So he's been working his way back since then. And it looks like he's in great shape. He has been working with DC, Brian Zelcher, Zellhuber, Imanol Rodriguez, Santiago Luna, Brennan Moreno. I mean, all these guys are kind of teamed up down there to try to have success on the night. But with his age circumstances, obviously he's a big underdog. And Francis Marshall, his himself, he's been out for nearly a year. He had a rib injury, and he didn't get to fight in a fight that he had for August. But he impressed in his one fight he had in 2025. He fought Myron Santos, who's in the top 15 now, and it was one of the biggest robberies of the year. He should have won, but regardless, he lost split decision, and now he's in a must-win position here. He's lost 3 of 4. He's back at ATT for this fight, so he's probably at a good camp, and he should be in great shape. And style-wise, you look at Silva, he's a karate-style guy on the feet, nice right hand, hands down, so it's hard to see the right hand coming from what angle it's going to come from, and he's accurate. He'll use that right hand to blitz guys and then set the double leg. He'll throw calf kicks as well, head kicks, body kicks. His wrestling looks serviceable, but he doesn't seem that physical. His last fight with TJ Brown, he was getting reversed a lot. Um, he had his back taken, ended up getting submitted in the third round. Most of the time when Silva wins, he's running through you in round 1, so he's not a good nail. You could see he was pretty spent in the third of his last fight. His last 6 wins are all first round stoppages. So the later this fight goes, the more advantageous for Marshall. Silva's also been finishing the third round twice. But Francis Marshall on the feet, he has good ghost pressure. He has fast hands. He'll kind of pepper you and then throw harder straight punches, overhands, use that to get his double. Solid wrestling. And when he gets pressured, you can kind of catch him backing up with his chin in the air. Going to the legs, going to the body, I think is also a good way to go. But Marshall's tough. He's going to bring it on the feet. And he tends to kind of fight in bursts. But when he gets on top, he has solid control, good back takes. His wrestling should be very efficient versus a guy like Silva. And he isn't a major submission threat, but he can submit you eventually. And I kind of think that's how this fight's going to go. I think that he can maybe get a later round rear naked choke, round 2, round 3. Um, so the minus 500, I think, is a little wide, or I think now it's even wider, but ultimately I get why. I don't really think there's many outs for Silva to win this fight. So I'm more like the submission prop, or the fight doesn't go to decision, Marshall to end it in round 2, round 3. But give me Francis Marshall here inside the distance. And continuing the trend, like I said, we got Douglas Silva de Andrade returning after a USADA suspension at 40 years old, taking on Javier Reyes, making his UFC debut. Douglas, he hasn't fought since June 15, 2024 because of that suspension. He fought for a diuretic, so, I mean, even though you can make a great case, he's on roids, and everyone's been saying it for years, it wasn't like he popped for steroids, so he's coming up to 145. Maybe the weight cut really was a big issue, and hopefully he doesn't need to take any illegal substance to cut weight or mass something. And he's an old lion, though. I mean, he's clearly past his prime, but he's been in the UFC since 2014. He's been in there with some of the best. He fought the current 135-pound champion, and he's always been pretty competitive. 7-6 in the UFC. His last fight versus Miles Johns, it was fairly close, but hard to know what to expect from him going up in weight, being out of competition for so long. So he's welcoming Javier Reyes to the UFC, who's 32 years old, had 27 fights to get here, so it's not like he's a spring chicken himself, but he kind of got forgotten because he lost 3 out of 4 in 2018, and he showed he's a grinder. He won 8 in a row. He lost again, went 4-1, and then won on Contender Series to finally get the contract. So it's a good fight to see how good Reyes is, because I don't necessarily know exactly how good a fighter this guy is, but yeah, I mean, looking at it, Reyes on the feet, he's tall, he's gonna have a height and reach edge, big feints, hands low, walks you down, tries to bait you, heavy on his lead leg. So I do think that Silva's gonna try to throw leg kicks, but Reyes is gonna try to counter that. And Reyes, though, I don't like his defense. I mean, you'll lean back, check hook, um, to try to counter you. He'll throw big looping punches. So if you just stand in front of him, he will blitz you, and you'll go to your body, and he looks good. But defensively, he's wide open to be hit, especially if you back him up where he can't pull away. He is pretty tough, but I think even Douglas at 40 is probably more durable because he's never been knocked out, and we've seen Reyes put out cold multiple times. But Reyes will mix in wrestling. I think his wrestling's kind of mediocre, but good conditioning. He can make it a brawl if he has to. And I think that he could probably use his wrestling here and take Andrade down in the second half of the fight if he can make it a brawl early and get Douglas tired. Um, but Douglas is a knockout artist, fast twitch, economical guy, kind of holds the center, tries to fight in bursts, big loaded punches, decent crosses, good spin attacks, good kicks, and he's built like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. I mean, so far, no one's been able to knock him out. Petteryon stopped him, but it was a corner stoppage, and he is getting more hittable, less explosive, and the layoff and the fact this fight's at elevation is, making the win even tougher for Andrade. But Andrade has some underrated grappling. He's hard to hold down. If you take him down, he's pretty good at defending or getting back up. But his conditioning is decent. I just don't know if it's going to hold up in this one. And I don't know if Reyes will be the first person to finish Andrade. It's possible because Andrade's becoming more hittable, up a weight class. Maybe Reyes can blitz him and get him out of there. Um, I'm not super sold on Reyes, but he's fighting an older guy. He's fading. He's coming off a layoff, suspension, moving up a division. I mean, maybe he won't take the shots as good when the fight, in this fight up a division. I mean, I'm going to go Reyes. I'll say that he actually does win via second round KO TKO. And for the next crazy matchup of the night, Cristian Quiñonez versus Kris Moutinho. Uh, Two guys that haven't won in forever. I mean, the last time that Kris Quiñonez fought was February 24th, 2024. He's lost 2 fights in a row. Kris Moutinho, he fought last June and got KO'd. He's 0-3 in the UFC. Um, but Quiñonez, Mexican fighter, Entrim gym guy, so I'm sure he's pumped to be on this card, but he hasn't fought in 2 years. Like I said, the last time he fought was his loss to Raoni Barcelos, and his last win was September 3rd, 2022. So he's lost 2 in a row. He had to pull out of a fight in 2025 due to visa issues. So his career's kind of stalled lately, but only 29 years old, a lot of experience with 23 fights, and he's shown potential, but this is a crossroads fight. His opponent is someone that's been absolutely dominated every time he stepped in the UFC cage, and Quiñonez needs to treat him accordingly. But Kris Moutinho's looking to avoid going 0-4. Every fight he's had has ended the same so far, which is him losing via knockout. His first 2 UFC fights, he got TKO'd standing, but his last fight, he got flatlined badly. Took 8 months off, but I mean, you have to respect Moutinho because he accepts a fight with anyone, anywhere. And realistically, this is a more winnable fight than the ones that he's been given. But he's going to have to show up on point and have a little luck to win. He's been getting ready with Angel Pacheco, who's also on this card. He's a big underdog, so maybe they're using that as motivation to push hard and get W's. But Quiñonez is pretty good. I mean, in and out movements on point, good jab. He frames. He's pretty long. He's fast. He looks to counter with straights, uppercuts. He can get a little bit wild in the pocket and definitely hang his chin up there. He got dropped and choked by King. But his last fight, I was impressed with his grappling. He was able to reverse Raoni Barcelos, hold him against the cage, took him down, took his back. Doing that to Barcelos is pretty impressive. And he was up 2 rounds to 0 before in round 3 he got his kick caught, got his back taken, got finished the rear naked choke. I think if he goes out there and gasses himself, that's the only way Moutinho can win the fight. But Moutinho's kind of just a guy who wants to press you. He's pretty slow, plotty, but high guard. He absorbs strikes, walks you to the fence, cage push, dirty boxing, knees, elbows, gets on top of you. He's fairly dangerous on top when you're slowing down, and really good conditioning, but it's a tailor-made match for Quiñonez. He's going to be easy to um it's going to be easy to find Kris Moutinho. He's going to stay in the pocket with him. Quiñonez is way faster. He doesn't have the wrestling to get this fight to the ground, Kris Moutinho. And if Cristian wants to take um, Moutinho down, he can. Moutinho's chin also could be right for the picking after his last knockout loss. So I'm going to go with Quiñonez, and I'm going to say he gets it done in vintage fashion, which is a first round finish. And for this next fight, we got Ailin Perez taking on Macy Chiasson. And yeah, weird matchmaking here. I mean, I think that the UFC is not a huge fan of Ailin Perez's whole gimmick and everything. I mean, she's going out there winning, 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 and they're still putting her on the prelims. And putting her against someone lower than her in the rankings. So she needs to go out here and get some respect, get a big win. And they're giving her DC's girl. DC is helping Macy for this camp, I believe, or at least his whole, a lot of people from his camp. I mean, there's this new gym in Texas, Ranger MMA, which Kyle Crutchmer, Ryan Benoit, Jacoby Smith just fought out of there. Nick Piccinini, all those guys are kind of building up right now, which Macy has went to for this fight, which I think is good, man. She left Fortis, which I Fortis has kind of been losing a lot of fights recently, and I think to go and get trained by some people that are super good elite level wrestlers and maybe try to change your game up and become more wrestling grappling centric for someone that's a huge fighter for the weight division with fairly decent skills in that area already is probably the way to go if she ever wants to get into that top five. um for Ailin Perez, she's obviously kind of what she is, where she's pretty one-dimensional wrestler that likes to, run around on their feet, pull you into spins, throw some, kicks, some flim-flam punches, but she's really just trying to get on top of you and control you on the ground. Um, I feel like Macy's always been kind of mentally weak, so confidence for her is paramount coming into this fight. And she's been running 30 miles a day, she said, and is in the best shape she's ever been. So hopefully she didn't overtrain or anything, but she hasn't been training in Mexico. But if she's been running that much and doing that work, she's probably going to be in great shape. For Ailin, she has came to the UFC PI in Mexico, so she's going to be acclimated and ready to go. Um, so, I mean, I'm just not a big fan of either fighter here. I feel like Ailin Perez is a little overrated. Like, on the feet, she has that karate taekwondo background. She'll use that lateral movement, blitz in, throw kicks, like I said, spinning attacks. But her hands are almost non-existent. I mean, she'll fake like she's gonna let go with some punches, but her overhands are really sloppy. No inside boxing. If you pressure her, she's guaranteed to shoot. So she's yet to fight someone in the UFC who's really effective and got her in a boxing range, forced her to show that aspect. And she's been able to stay all the way in or all the way out and really avoided boxing so far in her UFC career. Um, and she gets the body lock. She'll try to drag you to the ground. Her wrestling's a little sloppy. I mean, she'll lose position sometimes. She did get out positioned by Jocelyn Edwards for the most part. Edwards had the control time in the second round, and in round three, she had a lot of control against the cage as well. When Perez gets on top, she can hold you down and kind of maintain position when she's smart in a half card, but she's also able to hit several takedowns per fight if you get up and make her work. So she has good conditioning. Um, she can wrestle pretty well, and she runs away from you and then pulls you into takedowns and spin attacks and things like that. So if you slow down and start to get sloppy, she's just going to take over. But she's not the best on bottom. She makes a lot of mistakes. Um, so putting her on her back, I think, is the way to go. She got bailed out by Edwards. I mean, Edwards was able to attack a guillotine force press to her back in the second round. She was holding her down and winning the round, but for some reason she headbutted Perez. The ref stood him up, and then she ended up getting dropped with a spinning back fist and losing that round. So if that wouldn't have happened and Edwards would have stayed on top for the rest of that second round, she maybe would have been able to win that fight, but it didn't end up going down like that. And for Macy Chiasson, I mean, on the feet, I don't think she's a great striker. She tries to stay long and she'll use the jab, but she's always looking to clinch, get inside. She doesn't use her reach that well. She throws her punches from way too far out. She doesn't use her feet to close the distance, and it's all wild lunging shots, kind of amateur striking, but she has power, and she needs to force the clinch here. Try to make pressure to back takedown and take that front choke position, snap her down, take the back, or take the front choke if you can get it. And just try to do damage in the clinch, try to do damage when you're pressuring or when she clinches you. And I think if Chiasson can get on top, she can hold her down, control her. But one thing in this fight is if Macy ends up on her back, she's going to stay there. She doesn't know how to stand up from bottom. She has decent elbows, but with that length, it's hard for her to really get up. So ultimately, though, I mean, I think honestly the fight's going to come down to who's the better wrestler and get in top position because both girls' striking is pretty trash. I think Macy is better on the feet, more dangerous on top and on the feet actually, but if she can get held down like she did against Ketlin, then it could happen again here. But one thing about Macy is she hasn't really been taken down too much in recent fights. I think that with Rangers MMA, she should be able to have her wrestling game really on point. And I think she could get into a dom position here and get the submission. She almost got a submission in her last fight. She's kind of ran out of time in the third. Um, I think it's a sell high spot on Perez for me where I think she's fighting someone who may be better at grappling than her. And if Macy loses this fight, she'll be cut. So she knows she has to show up here. I think if she can get on top, we've seen Perez tap before to fighters like Stephanie Egger. And I just think Macy's more dangerous. On the feet, Perez can have the speed advantage. I think she's going to force Macy to come to her, but I just feel like Macy's going to go hunting early in the fight, throw hard strikes. Perez is going to shoot. Macy, if she could stuff it, she could take over the fight, get on top, and maybe find that finish. So give me Macy Chiasson for the upset here, and I'm going to say she wins via submission. And I'm next year we got one of the early candidates for fight of the year with Jose Daniel Medina, Dana White's favorite fighter, taking on Ryan Gandra. I mean, just look at that shape that Ryan Gandra's in. Just incredible, man. But the story continues for Medina. Already had a suspect padded record when he got on the Contender Series in 2023. I mean, the guy was a 5+520 dog. He was just there to take a loss, and he got dominated pillar to post, but made Dana White laugh, so he got a contract, and now he's fighting it out. I guess he's going to be either 1-3 or 0-4 in the UFC, and he's been more than a 3-1 underdog in every fight he's had. He's got finishing round one in his last two fights, so definitely proven that he isn't UFC level. But training in Florida for part of this camp again at Killcliff. Been training for the last month or so in Mexico. We'll see what he could do. Ryan Gandra being handed a layup here. I mean, if he loses, there are going to be serious questions about his legitimacy, and there already is some. I mean, 30 years old, 8-1. He did win via first round knockout in Contender Series. He's won 7 in a row, but he's only beaten a couple fighters who you could argue have a pulse. A lot of nobodies. His win on Contender Series versus a short notice guy that wasn't very good either. So both these guys, they have a lot to prove. But Ryan Gandra, he looks mobile. He looks, fairly athletic for middleweight. He's fighting a lot of super unathletic guys, but he's tall. He has a decently long reach. Him and Medina are pretty similar in that area for this fight, but Gandra will throw a lot of kicks. He'll go high, go low with kicks, and he could switch stance. Um, Tries to use his footwork and hands high to be defensive, but he'll just wing wild punches, throw himself way out of position. He does have power. I mean, he might not be technical, but he swings heavy, he hits hard as hell, and his speed and his power are his major assets. He usually fights at a really crazy pace. So if fighters get out of the first round, he is a little suspect to me, but he has 2-0 in decisions. And he's explosive with the wrestling. I mean, he isn't a great grappler, but he's strong. He'll provide decent resistance to takedowns. He'll hit reversals. He has good ground and pound, but I mean, I don't see Medina trying to take down Ryan. If he does, I don't see him being effective with it. If Gandra gets on top, I think he could do damage or get the finish. Um, I would argue Gandra is actually probably the second heaviest hitter Medina has fought as well, outside of Atiba Gaudier. But Jose Medina, I mean, the guy's a showman. He goes in there, he takes a beating for the fans' entertainment. Uh, take crazy damage. I don't really know what he's good at, though. He's low volume. Doesn't really do anything offensively outside of some random overhands, some check hooks, 3-2s, jabs to the body, to the head. But he really isn't that active or dangerous. Um, it seems like his hands are improving a little bit, but his defense is just to eat shots on the chin, take kicks right to the body, right to the legs, right to the head. His wrestling defense is non-existent. He's normally good enough to avoid getting finished on the ground, but his last fight he actually got submitted for the first time. Um, I think Gandra finds the chin, maybe freezes Medina, flurries, and TKOs him. He hits different than guys that Medina was able to survive against, and Gaudier did find that knockout button. I'm going to say Gandra gets it done in round one. If he can't, who knows how this fight ends up, because Medina is probably going to be more prepared for the elevation. Um, I'm not holding my breath for Medina comeback, though. I'm going to go Ryan Gandra first round knockout. And up next year, we got a great fight. I'm actually really excited for this fight. A fan of both guys. Santiago Luna, young 21-year-old kid. He's not just one of the best Mexican prospects in 135, but one of the best prospects, period, in my opinion. He has an elite level wrestling pedigree, and then you watch some of his fights, it looks like the guy's a boxer. So really good, well-rounded skills for someone his age with knockout power and great athleticism as well. And he's taking on an old junkyard dog, man, an Angel Pacheco, who is a New England cartel guy where a lot of their fighters, man, are aging out. I mean, there's not that many New England cartel guys left. Kris Moutinho is another one that's on this card as well, but that gym needs to get some new blood in the UFC, but these guys are still putting it down for him. And Angel, 34 years old, 7-3. He's 0-2 in the UFC so far, but he's someone that has been fighting since 2012. That's when he had his first amateur fight. Santiago Luna was only 8 years old, and he had 13 amateur fights before he went pro. So even though he's only 7-3, he has quite a bit more experience than Luna, and it didn't really take him long to get the UFC. He only had 3 years after going pro when he got the Contender Series, and so at the pro level, it looks similar, but Pacheco has a lot more experience, and he's never been finished before in his career. So over 20 fights, no one's been able to stop him. And like some other people on this card, Jose Medina, Sofia Montenegro was going to be on this card, not anymore, but he got awarded a contract after a loss on the Contender Series. And now he's looking to avoid the 0-3 start at the UFC. But I mean, both these guys on the feet are going to be fun to watch. Early on, Angel tends to have to get his reads, and he's not as athletic or fast as most of these guys. So he can get dropped early or take a lot of damage, but he's really difficult to get out of there. He's able to survive every time so far, and usually always has his own moments in the fight. If you keep it standing with him, you want to make it, a Mexican fight, boxing in the pocket. He's gonna, oblige you in that. Go to the body, go to the head with his punches. Show he's an MMA fighter by mixing in some elbows, some knees, and just super tough. I mean, he absorbs body strikes, headshots. His Contender Series fight versus Danny Silva, who's a pretty good fighter, it was really back and forth, and his freaking ear was like hanging off of his head, and he still was coming forward like a beast. So the guy's a Terminator, and throws insane volume, incredible cardio, if you're not ready for someone that can just take a beating early and still be in your face, still go into your body, beating you down, that's how he gets the win. And in this fight, I think the most dangerous thing that Luna has to be worried about is the flying knee, because we've seen Angel throw really nice flying knees. He's rock guys with flying knees. And if Luna gets a little tired, level changes into a knee, or gets backed up and Pacheco just times it perfect, that's the type of strike that could change or end a fight. So power wise with the hands, even though Angel has really nice combinations, he'll throw a lot of volume, the power isn't there. He doesn't really have the stopping ability there. Whereas with Santiago Luna, this guy has nasty one punch power with his hands, and he has solid boxing. I mean, he still gets wild, he's reckless with his pressure, but his speed and his power make up for his lack of composure and technicality sometimes. And he throws nice straights, he'll go to the body. He has technical offense with the hands, and then he could always fall back on the wrestling that he has, which is really good. I think that he's going to look to mix it up and take Pacheco down, control him. Angel is hard to submit, so taking the back, holding position, just working him early, and then seeing what could happen. I think, go out hard, try to maybe knock him out, because we've seen Angel could be a little bit of a slow starter at the beginning of the rounds, but don't blow your gas tank if it feels like he's going to survive, because you know that he's extremely durable. And then if you take him down, don't expect to just run through him on the ground. Worry more about control, breathing, being able to go the distance than just running through him and expecting a quick, easy submission. So Luna needs to show that, he's older than his years in this one. He's not going to fight like a 21-year-old, go out there and blow his cardio in round one and make this a lot more competitive fight than it needs to be. But I just feel like in decisions, Angel is 1-8 when you look at his career from pro and amateur. So he needs a finish, and it's going to be very difficult to finish a young, fresh 21-year-old Mexican in Mexico who is just a dog and extremely athletic. So I just feel like it's a fight where Angel's going to hang tough. Maybe you'll have some moments in the later half of the fight. But I'm going to say Santiago Luna shows his grittiness, his heart, and toughs out a decision win over a tough veteran, Angel Pacheco. And from one top-notch Mexican prospect to the next, now we got Imanol Rodriguez, who's going to be taking on a tough guy in Kevin Borjas, who's 1-3 in the UFC, but you dig a little deeper, and he's been fighting really hard guys. He fought the champ, dropped him, and he usually brings in. He has fun fights. You've seen him already on the Sphere card against Ronaldo Rodriguez, Lazy Boy. He's another, big time Mexican star, and Kevin whooped his ass. So you know that the Mexicans want revenge on this guy. They're bringing in the big guns, the big 125er, even though Rodriguez, 5'4" giant, coming in here trying to beat up on Kevin Borjas. And even though he's someone that was on Ultimate Fighter, he ended up making it to the quarterfinals, and he fought, or maybe the semifinals, whatever it was, but he made it to somewhere in the tournament, where he ended up against Joseph Morales, and Joseph Morales beat him. I actually thought that Imanol won the fight. It was a split decision. It was a competitive fight, and we've seen Joseph Morales beat Matt Schnell, and now he's, up there in the rankings. So Imanol arguably could have been in that position himself, and he had to go win a fight on Contender Series against a really dangerous guy in Roki Consejo, and he was able to finish him early, which has been kind of his MO recently, getting these quick knockout wins, and earned his contract. So that was big for Rodriguez. And Borjas, even though he got the win over Lazy Boy Rodriguez, Ronaldo Rodriguez, he hasn't had a great run in the UFC in terms of being able to produce winning results. Even though he's had moments in his losses, this is a must-win for him to probably stay in the organization, but they're setting him up here against Rodriguez, who is someone that has really good pressure, throws nasty combinations, has elite power, can mix it up, can wrestle, has the conditioning. I mean, he's just the total package to me. One thing I don't understand with him is he tends to get dropped early in like a lot of his fights, which it's a little bit him being reckless, but you could easily fix that. I don't know why he has to get dropped in the first 30 seconds of every fight, but Borjas is going to be difficult early. I think that you watch the Josh Van fight, it could end up looking a little bit like that because Borjas is someone that's long. He has good hands, good combinations. When he's having success and able to throw the 1-2s, 3-2s, keep you at bay, kind of touch you up, slip and rip. He has power and he gets confident, and you'll start to sit down, throw hard, make you miss, and counter you heavy. And that's where he's dangerous, and he can kind of rock you and things like that. He'll go to the body, but he's a bully fighter. If you start to pressure him, get in his face, smother his punches, make it more of a hard fight, he'll start to slow down. He'll give in. You see him get rocked and hurt. He's gotten submitted. He did go the distance against Josh Van, so he's a tough guy. But he can be rocked, and he almost got finished in that fight multiple times. I feel like Rodriguez can go out there and potentially get the knockout here, or get a dominant decision win. So I just feel like Rodriguez is going to be too much of a dog for Kevin Borjas. He's not going to give him that pretty fight, and he's going to get the job done. And in the feature fight of the night, we got one of the most well-rounded Mexican fighters on the roster, Edgar Chairez, taking on Felipe Bunes. And yeah, Chairez just trying to gain some momentum. He had some super hard draws earlier in his UFC career where he had to fight Josh Van. He fought Tyra. So now he's, trying to get some wins over guys more on his level. And he's getting an easier fight here against Felipe Bunes, who hasn't won a fight in a pretty significant amount of time, is a little bit older for the weight division, has been inactive. So it's a good matchup stylistically for Edgar as well. You look at Bunes, the guy usually is way taller and longer than his opponents at flyweight, and he tries to pull you in his power punches where he actually does have heat in his hands. Edgar has to be careful early with the 1-2s, with the 3-2s, running into a big shot. But Bunes slows down majorly, and Edgar Chairez has really dangerous striking in his own right. He's more dynamic, and Bunes has good grappling. He is really sloppy with the wrestling. I mean, I think he is going to try to take down Edgar, but he pulls guys on top of him, and his wrestling is kind of awkward. Edgar's takedown defense is a little suspect, but he always, has good ability to work off his back with the triangles, and he's able to do damage with elbows off his back as well. And I think he just has way better cardio. Bunes slows down pretty majorly. I don't think that the fact that this fight is in Mexico is going to be helpful for that. And I just think Chairez is going to end up submitting this guy. I feel like Bunes is maybe going to have a strong start. Maybe he'll get a takedown. Maybe he'll land some hard shots on the feet. But Edgar's going to hang in there. We're going to see Bunes start to slow down, make mistakes in the wrestling. I think Edgar's going to take the neck or get a triangle or get some sort of submission and go home the victor. So give me Edgar Chairez to get this win. And up next here, we got Daniel Zellhuber taking on King Bobby Green. And I mean, what a matchup here, right? Daniel Zellhuber, I mean, seems like the UFC really wants this guy to be the next Julio Cesar Chavez, but he's looking like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I mean, the guy is mentally, I don't think he's that strong right now. He was talking a lot of shit to Michael Johnson and seemed like he was trying to really amp himself up after the loss to Ribovics in that war and show that he's still like the best in the world, which he always says that, but didn't perform on the night against NJ. And I don't know how that's going to affect his mentality coming here, especially against a guy that's going to really go after that. He's going to talk crap to him in the cage. He's going to get right in his face at the weigh-ins. And we're going to see if mentally Daniel is confident enough to deal with someone like that right now. And on top of that, skill-wise, I mean, Zellhuber, he just hasn't been doing the greatest in the UFC, man. The guy is real plotting. He doesn't really have the footwork to cut the cage off. And he hasn't been using his hands that well. He has really nice hands, nice straight punches, good counter hooks, good power. But he's been really relying on his kicks. He doesn't want to close that distance, get into range against faster punchers, which Bobby Green is a guy that throws really nice pull counters. And he's been kind of just trying to rely on his gifts, like keeping the distance with the long kicks with the knees. And it hasn't been enough for him in the last two fights. With Bobby Green, he's fighting someone that moves really well, that's awkward, that's been able to beat a lot of guys with different styles. But, I mean, man, the guy's 40. He has been getting knocked out recently in certain fights, even though he got the win his last fight over Lance Gibson. It's hard to be confident in where Bobby is right now, but Bobby is someone that where if Michael Johnson can pull counter you, can walk you down and be aggressive with his hands, I feel like Bobby Green could do a very similar thing, and I just don't get the line on this fight. Why would this be such a wide disparity for Zellhuber coming off a loss to Michael Johnson? So that's throwing me off a little bit. I feel like if this goes to decision, it's going to be like a split decision type of fight. And of course, they could rob Bobby Green in Mexico, but I will say he looks in incredible shape going into this fight. The guy looks ripped. And if he has the best performance that he could have, he's going to get the win. So I'm going to go with Bobby Green here via decision. And co-main event time, not a big fan of this fight whatsoever. We got Marlon Cheeto Vera taking on David Martinez. I'm kind of done with the Cheeto experiment in the UFC. I don't know about you guys. I used to be a huge fan of Cheeto. I still am a big fan of Cheeto for what he's done in the sport, but just his last few performances, if he's going to stay in the UFC, man, I don't want him to be in a co-main event, and he needs to get back on a win streak and prove himself again because the guy just hasn't been pulling the trigger lately. He's looking washed, and they're giving him a guy in David Martinez who, when he wins in violent fashion, when he catches that spinning attack, a head kick, or a blitz with his hands, it's going to be entertaining. But when he wins a fight like he did versus Rob Font, and a lot of it is him kind of just circling and pulling you into these strikes and just doing his thing with his karate background, that's when it's going to, be kind of a boring decision. So when you match two guys like this up together, it could end up being a snooze fest. Cheeto Vera, he's one of these guys where really dangerous. He is always losing until he comes back and gets the win, even when he was at his best on the win streak. That's kind of usually how it went for him. And recently, though, he's just not been pulling the trigger and losing decisions. His last fight with Eamon Zahabi, he hurt Zahabi really badly and didn't capitalize on it, couldn't finish him, ended up losing a close decision, was really mad about it. And I kind of expect this here. I mean, I think that David Martinez is going to get off to a quick start. He's going to be skirting around the cage. He's going to be sticking and moving. Cheeto's going to be laughing, smiling at him, kind of trying to get him to engage. He might have a couple blitzes and moments, but I don't think it's going to be enough to offset everything that Martinez is doing. And I think that at one point in the fight, though, Cheeto will have a moment where he rocks him. He has him hurt. He's not going to be able to get him out of there, I don't believe. And then I think that Martinez is going to go right back on the stick and move game and, steal that decision from Cheeto Vera. Cheeto could maybe test him on the ground, but he never does that, and I don't think he's going to go to that in this fight. And if Cheeto gets in there and gets the finish, then great for Cheeto. He's going to be back in the win column, but I just feel like Martinez is going to do enough to win the decision. I don't trust Cheeto to let his strikes go and get that finish. Even if he hurts Martinez, I think he could let him off the hook. So I just don't trust Cheeto at this point in his career. I think Martinez is probably not going to be able to get to the top of the division. Um, but I think he could probably get by a Cheeto Vera at this point in Cheeto's career. So give me Martinez via decision. And finally, we got the main event between Brandon Moreno and Loner Kavanagh. Actually, a really good fight. Two guys that are very skillful in all areas. Obviously, Brandon Moreno has a much higher pedigree. He's made it to the top of the sport. He's arguably the second best flyweight ever. He's, up. I guess he's not. I guess Pantoja and Demetrius, but he's up there in the top five. He has multiple flyweight title victories in the UFC, and Loner is coming off a loss. He's getting gifted this opportunity on short notice because of someone else pulling out. And he's got to be thinking his lucky stars, man, that he's fighting someone that is up there at the very top in the world after making that mistake and taking his first loss. It really didn't push him down the rankings. And if he gets this win over Brandon Moreno, he's going to be right in the mix with the top five in the weight division. So Loner is trying to put himself on the map here, become one of the biggest names in flyweight. And for Brandon Moreno, he had the loss to Tatsuro Taira. I think he won in that fight with a great mentality. I think he was really confident. I think he was really prepared, ready to go. He was fighting a much different stylistic type of matchup, and I think he believes that he's a really great grappler, and he is. And he wanted to test his grappling against a guy like Chairez, but unfortunately, Chairez was able to wrap him up, finish him in the second round with that ground and pound. And it was a little early, but I don't know if Brandon was going to be able to do anything about it and get out of that position. So ultimately, he got outdid in the grappling realm, and he was trying to get back that type of loss in this fight. He was going to fight Asu Mabayev, but Asu had to pull out, and now he's fighting a striker. So he's fighting a much different style, and we'll see exactly how he deals with it. And I think in this fight, man, if Brandon Moreno wants to win and win cleanly, he has to put the wrestling shoes on himself, go out there, get his own takedowns, get on top, make Loner Kavanagh work, even if you're failing the takedown attempts, because ultimately, on the feet, I favor Loner Kavanagh. I feel like Brandon Moreno, he's a good striker. Um, he's nice. He does a nice job of always keeping his head off center line. He has a good high guard, so he's difficult to hit with straight punches. And then when you throw those straights, he's always trying to counter you with those big looping hooks, and he has nice kicks as well. So he's just kind of awkward with his striking, and then you'll throw a lot of numbers when he was in his prime. Now he's kind of lower in the volume. I don't think he's quite as sharp with the defense. And Loner, to me, is someone that gets in and out really effectively, those really sharp strikes, combinations. I feel like even if Moreno's blocking certain strikes, the guard and stuff, it's going to be Loner throwing more, landing hard on the guard. Moreno just pressuring, missing, Loner being too fast in and out. I think Loner can mix in the kicks, leg kicks, and things like that as well. And I just think he's sharper striker. If they get in exchanges, I think that he hits a little harder and cleaner as well. In his last fight, he did get clipped and knocked out, so you always have to kind of see exactly how his chain is going to bounce back. But at flyweight, you wouldn't think it's as big a deal. And Charles Johnson is an extremely heavy hitter for one. And two, he just turned into a Terminator. He's walking through a bunch of heavy strikes. And I don't think Brandon Moreno is going to be as willing to do that. Loner is someone that can normally control the pace with his precision. And Charles Johnson didn't let him do that in his last fight because he didn't have the power to keep Charles off of him. And when Charles implemented the wrestling, which is why I said at the beginning of this breakdown that I think that is the path for Brandon, Lohner slowed way down in his strikes. The power went way down in his strikes as well. Lohner was able to defend the single leg with some front chokes and some scrambles, and he got back up to his feet and he got his own takedowns. But you could see that making him work in that wrestling department really wore him down pretty quickly. So if I'm Loner Kavanagh, man, to me, the game plan after that fight for getting better and working on that is getting on those wrestling mats and just working that wrestling cardio, man, so you don't get as tired in those scrambles, working the jiu-jitsu scrambles, and just really pushing the cardio in that aspect, because on the feet you're better than most guys, especially when you're sharp, you're precise, and you have the grappling ability. You just need to be able to maintain it for, a 5 round duration. And on top of that, I mean, this is the ultimate test for his conditioning. He is going to Mexico on short notice against a proven 5 round fighter that's been in so many 5 round fights. So if he can go out there and he can maybe not even out cardio Brandon Moreno, but do enough to win over 5 rounds, then he's going to prove that he's a 5 round fighter himself. So this is a fight where Brandon Moreno has gotten takedowns in certain fights, right? But I don't know if he's going to go in there and be able to wrestle Lohner. If it's just a striking fight, I think Kavanagh is going to be one step ahead of him, and I think he's going to be able to control the pace with his precision. Like I said, I don't think Brandon's going to be willing to just absorb strikes, walk through them, and make it a absolute war at this point in his career. Brandon got his win in Mexico. He's won the belt multiple times. I just don't know exactly where his motivation is if this fight becomes a lot harder than he expects it to be. And I don't know how hard he thinks this fight with this kid is going to be. So Loner Kavanagh has a chance to go in here and shock him. And I just feel like Loner, if he can get off to a good start on the feet, maybe hurt Brandon, defend some takedowns, make Brandon not willing to, continue to shoot on him, then he could win this fight. And I'm going to go with the underdog here, Loner Kavanagh, to make himself a player at 125. I think he's going to be able to get this victory over a aging legend in Brandon Moreno. Squeak out. It'll be competitive. I mean, Brandon's not going to get dominated by anyone, I don't think. But I'm going to say that Loner Kavanagh wins the decision in this fight. So there you have it, guys. Full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Mexico. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hit that like button. Put a comment down below. Let's try to get as much engagement as possible. Been really killing it on the picks this year. And like I said, want to try to get 1,000 views minimum for this video. We got really close last week, so let's break that barrier for this one, guys. And yeah, man. As far as the most confident pick and parlay of the week, my most confident pick I would say is Francis Marshall. And for my parlay of the week, I would say do a parlay with Edgar Chairez, Imanol Rodriguez, Santiago Luna, and Francis Marshall. I think that one will get the job done for you. For an underdog of the week on this card, my official underdog of the week, I guess I will go with Loner Kavanagh in the main event. I think he's going to get it done, but I like quite a few underdogs on this one. I mean, kind of a crapshoot type of card, right? So you got to take the shots where you can. I mean, I don't think anyone is going to be back in Zellhuber as a minus 500 favorite after his debacle versus MJ. So I like Bobby at that number. I like the price on Macy as well. I think that should be closer to a pick 'em. If it starts getting to like one, under one plus 140, I don't know how much value is really left there. But Macy sub, and Macy money line, over plus 150, I think is decent. And yeah, man, I like Wes Schultz underdog as well. So a couple underdogs on the card that I think are live for sure. And if you want access to all my bets on this card for all my bets going forward, we've been doing really well on the betting side of things as well this year. Go to patreon.com/PredictionGuru. The link is going to be in the description. Outside of that, guys, I'll be back soon doing another breakdown and prediction video. So Peace out.